Greetings once again everyone, and the Viltrox lens company have been busy once again. This time they're introducing a new 56mm f1.2 Pro lens for APS-C mirrorless cameras. It'll be available on Sony E, Nikon Z and Fujifilm X mount, and as I mentioned, it offers an APS-C image circle only. Here is your coverage on a full frame camera. It will cost $580, 599 euro, or £530 here in the UK, which could be a really reasonable price for such a bright aperture APS-C autofocus lens, if it turns out to be any good, that is. I'd like to thank Viltrox for sending me one of these for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. They've had no input into the video at all. 56mm on APS-C is about the full frame equivalent of 85mm, and 85mm lenses with very bright apertures are one of the favourite choices of portrait photographers, and for good reason. The short telephoto focal length gives you a lovely emphasis on your subject, and the f1.2 maximum aperture offers great separation from your background. However, unlike a longer telephoto lens, 85mm on full frame or on APS-C 56mm is not so tight that your background isn't compressed away into irrelevance. It still forms a good part of your image. This lens is on a large size for an APS-C optic, as you can see here. Even if it has an extra bright maximum aperture, its build quality looks and feels exceptional though. The lens's body is made of metal with a lovely smooth finish to it. It's based on a metal lens mount with weather sealing around the edge for extra protection. There's also a USB-C port in the rear for future firmware updates. All that metal gives the lens a little weight though. It weighs 570 grams, or a little under 1.5 pounds. As you upturn the lens, you can hear and feel glass elements gently bumping around inside, something which I've never liked to hear and feel, but in all fairness that's actually becoming normal these days. You sometimes even feel this in Sony and Fujifilm lenses. At the rear, we find a nice aperture control ring, which clicks at every third of an f-stop. It can also be set to turn smoothly, which can be useful for video makers. A slight flaw though is that it's a bit too easy to accidentally switch the lens from its camera controlled A mode down to f16. The bump between those settings could have been much firmer, I think. Then we get an auto manual focus switch and a customizable focus hold button. And then comes a metallic manual focus ring, which turns a little bit firmly, but still lovely and smoothly, and as you can see here, it works quite responsively with the focus motor. Impressively, this lens suffers from very little focus breathing, as you can see here, which will be a very nice advantage for video makers. The lens's autofocus motor works silently and accurately. In single shot autofocus mode, it's nice and quick. Switch over to continuous autofocus mode though, and it's almost instantaneous. Impressive! The lens has a 67mm filter thread size, and it does not feature image stabilization. It comes with a fairly deep plastic hood. Overall, the lens's build quality is very lovely here. Even though it's a little on a heavy side, everything's working perfectly, and it has great potential for video work as well, with that declickable aperture ring and low focus breathing. So let's see about image quality then. I'll be testing it today in the 26MP APS-C mode of my Sony a7C camera. In-camera corrections are turned on for this test. At f1.2, in the middle of the image, we see great sharpness and good contrast, albeit with a touch of ghosting on horizontal edges. Stop down to f1.4 for a noticeable improvement in contrast, and at f2, the image is razor sharp and incredibly punchy in the middle. Well, let's open back up to f1.2 and look over into the corners. Wow, straight from f1.2 they look brilliantly sharp with great contrast. They stay this sharp down to f8, although at f11 and f16 those corners start getting softer due to the effects of diffraction. Okay, so that's a great performance here. The lens offers very nice image quality straight from f1.2, but stopping down just to f2 brings about some pretty incredible sharpness indeed. For an optic at this price point, you can't really ask for much more than that, honestly. Alright, let's turn off in-camera corrections and take a look at distortion and vignetting. We see a very small amount of pincushion distortion, but at f1.2 the corners are noticeably dark, unsurprisingly. f1.4 looks almost the same, but at f2 and f2.8 those corners brighten up significantly, so it's an averagely good performance for a portrait lens here. The lens's minimum focus distance is 50 cm, which is impressively close for a portrait optic actually. At f1.2, close-up image quality still offers some sharpness, but contrast is low and colour fringing high. f1.4 is about the same, but f2 looks nice and sharp and punchy close-up, albeit with some purple fringing. At f2.8 and f4, that purple fringing dissipates. Let's see how the lens works against bright lights now. The lens suffers from a bit more flaring than normal here. More expensive lenses can do better, but thankfully it's nothing too egregious, and at least it has a nice soft quality to it. This is a portrait lens, so let's take a look at the quality of its bokeh. It's very lovely indeed, I'm pleased to say. Those backgrounds look beautifully soft to me, which is exactly what we're looking for. Well, what most people are looking for anyway. Something I will note though is that specular highlights in the image corners seem to carry a bit more of a cat's eye shape to them than normal though. Finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. It's there at f1.2 as you can see, but it's not as bad as I was expecting. It doesn't go away very quickly though. It's still there at f2 and f2.8, finally beginning to properly dissipate at f4 and f5.6. Still, bear in mind that I'm presenting you with a real stress test here. In real-world images you won't notice it often. Overall, well, if you're someone who's really committed to APS-C, stills or video work, then this lens is obviously a fantastic option. It's lovely and sharp straight from f1.2, razor sharp from f2, with always good contrast, neutral colours and beautiful bokeh. Its build quality is pretty much second to none as well, although I really do wish it would lock its aperture ring into A mode a little more firmly. Its autofocus is super fast, its focus breathing nicely corrected, it offers good value for money too, so I guess this one is yet another new Viltrox lens which has to come, highly recommended. Thanks for watching everyone. Viltrox are killing it these days, right? Anyway, if you regularly watch these reviews and find them helpful, then check out the playlists on my channel to find the reviews you need for your camera system. Also, check out my Patreon page in the description below, where supporters get all kinds of exclusive bonus content and early access to reviews, as well as a warm, fuzzy feeling inside for being a part of keeping these sponsorship-free reviews trucking on. Ciao for now, everyone.